my hip and chipped a piece of bone off of it. My body then decided it was going to protect that chip by putting a piece of calcium over it, and which was fine and dandy. Everything was cool. It didn't bother me for years, but just 11 years of wrestling now and constantly bumping on it and hitting it, what's happened is that calcium splintered into sharp points, and the sharp points were like jabbing into my muscle and tendons and stuff, so I had to get surgery and get that calcium deposit removed.
So it wasn't really something that, you took a bump and, it wasn't really where you took a bump and if something happened, it was something that just built up over a period of time.
Absolutely. It wasn't totally necessary to have it removed now, but I'd rather get it, done now before there's major damage done later on.
But let me ask you, because being a wrestler, you're on the road so much. When you get to take some time off, even though you're rehabbing an injury, is it a nice break to be able to sit at home, or do the competitive juices start flowing and you're like, come on, I got to get back on the road, I got to
No, the competitive juices start flowing. I've been itching to get back into the ring, but it was a matter of getting a doctor's release, and I just got that about a week and a half ago, so now I'm down in Cincinnati and ready to get rid of my ring rust and jump back into the mix of things.
We're talking with Val Venis on the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB. HWA, most people know around here, is the WWF Developmental Association, and as you said, for the next couple of weeks you're going to be in town working out the ring rust. And what's it been like? Last I know you've been here this week. What's your impression, first of all, of the school and of Les and everything down there?
It's a great facility. I mean, these guys train hard. Les is a great teacher. They got Dave Taylor down there now, and he's got, some 20-some-odd years experience behind him, and I'm down there helping the guys out a little bit. It's a great facility. I mean, these guys are really working hard, great talents. There's definitely some future superstars in there.
Now, how did you get your start? Because, I mean, did you have a school like this in Canada that you were able to go to, or how did you break into the business?
Yeah, actually, I was trained by a guy by the name of Dewey Robertson.
Yeah.
He used to
Missing Link.
Missing Link gimmick, absolutely. And he's an old-timer. And he trained me out in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. And he trained for about a year. From there, I went on to England. I was in England for a year, then Arkansas for about 8 months. Then took off to Puerto Rico. I was in Puerto Rico for 6 years.
Right.
Mexico a year and a half, and Japan for a year and a half before I went to WWF. So I've been around a little bit.
What can you tell us about the international scene? Because you hear so much about how almost fanatical some of the Japanese fans are. And down in Mexico, I know last night I was watching some Lucha Libre, and you want to talk about, everybody complained about some of the whacked out storylines that WCW did towards the end. I saw on Lucha Libre last week, they were transforming somebody into a cat. And I'm sitting there, and I don't know Spanish. I'm trying to make it out, but the guy literally transformed into a cat, and it was a really bizarre segment. I don't know what they were trying to do, but
Ernest Miller.
That is
maybe it was Ernest Miller, I don't know.
Cat Miller.
That is a little bizarre.
But how is it overseas compared to the U.S.? What can you tell us about styles? And
I love Japan. Japan's a phenomenal place to go and work. It's the difference between Japan and here is the storylines are not as intense. Here, it's like a big soap opera. You have, in the WWF, you have a mixture of athletics, controversy, and storylines all rolled into one. In Japan, you have mostly athletics. It's very solid over there. There's nothing light that goes on over there. It's very solid, very athletic, and it's more of a competition rather than the soap opera. And I think that's the biggest difference between Japan and the United States. In Mexico, it's like a gymnastics show. These guys are phenomenal. High flyers. They do a lot of great stuff in the air and phenomenal moves. And there's no real psychology to their matches. I mean, you get guys throwing another guy outside, and the guys out there waiting for him to catch him as he comes over the top rope. To me, there's not too much psychology involved in that. But they love it down in Mexico. They love the moves. They don't really care about what reality is. They just want to see the moves. They want to see a gymnastics show down there.
866-910-WPFB is the phone number. Let's take our first call tonight. It's Andy. Welcome to the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Doing well.
I just have two things to get into real quick.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, first off, I wanted to ask Val, what did you think, because I've read a lot about you and how you're really a political genius in Canada, what did you think when you heard what your gimmick was going to be when you first came into the WWF?
Political genius. Wow.
Wow.
That's a nice compliment.
Yeah, thanks for the compliment, but I appreciate it. What did I think about the gimmick? I took the gimmick in one hand and looked at it for a little while and said, you know what, this thing could be a hell of a lot of fun, and I just decided to take it.
We've got emails about that, too, but we've got to get to a break. If you want to call in, again, the toll-free number, if you want to talk to Val Venis, 866-910-WPFB. If you're trying to get through, you want to email us. The email address is thewrestlingguys@AOL.com. I'm Shawn Stidham. Cam the Man Collins is in the studio as well. He's Val Venis. We are the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB.
Here's Chris Frank.
Listen all day tomorrow for your chance to see Eddie Miles, a tribute to Elvis at the Grand Victoria Casino and Resort this Saturday night. It's only from WPFB. You're listening to Shawn Stidham and Willie F., the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB.
I'm Shawn Stidham, Cam the Man Collins, filling in for Willie F., and in studio tonight, Val Venis, WWF Superstar. Toll-free number if you want to hop on board, 866-910-WPFB. The email address is thewrestlingguys@AOL.com. Before the break, Andy was asking about your first character, the first gimmick of being the porn star. We got an email from Mike from Ashland, Kentucky. Do you think the whole ex-porn star storyline has hampered you in trying to get a new character over, and do you think a jump to the Alliance would give you the opportunity to go in a different direction creatively?
I don't think anything really hampers my ability to develop a new character. I actually really love the Val Venis character. It was a lot of fun to do, and I'd really like to go back to something like that, but not exactly. In my view, the Val Venis character and the storylines overshadowed my wrestling ability.
And we're talking about the porn Val Venis,
Yes.
not the RTC member.
Yes, and so I'd like to go back to something very similar to the old Val Venis, ex-porno star gimmick, but not so much real heavy into the storylines that would, cause a lot of controversy. I'd rather, be able to show my wrestling ability in the ring and have storylines that are more serious and more hardcore.
But, there's worse ways to make a living than standing in a shower with Ryan Shamrock. I mean, come on.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But I think it's one thing that really concerned me about it was fun while I was doing it, definitely.
Right.
But I would much rather have been spending that time in the ring, and really, showing what I had as talent-wise and creativity-wise inside the ring.
Now, I have a question about that. During that time is when the whole PTC and media backlash was coming at the WWF pretty hard. And oftentimes when you were watching an MSNBC or some show like that, you would immediately fill the screen and they would say they feature ex-porno stars and yada, 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 and go on. Did any of that backlash ever make you and Vince McMahon and the guys stop and go, okay, let's not do that. That may go too far. Let's scale that back and go this way because we don't want this kind of heat.
Didn't make me back off at all. I mean, for a while there, I was considered one of the most controversial characters in the WWF, and that didn't bother me one bit. As you may or may not know, I am a libertarian, and censorship to me is it's part of the Communist Manifesto. And when you have groups like the PTC who are trying to get government backing in order to censor different shows, to me it's the parents' job. Right. To censor what the children watch, not your next door neighbor's job, not some leader of the PTC's job. It's the parents' job to teach the children what's right and what's wrong.
And it's not Vince McMahon's job either.
No,
I think that's what a lot of parents lose focus on as they come in and say, well, you shouldn't do this because my kid will watch it. And just like you said, the parent needs to step in and say, my kid's not watching it. If you don't want him to.
We're talking to to Val Venis on the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB. The toll-free number again is 866-910 WPFB. It's one of the things we said early on when that whole controversy was raging was that there's so much absentee parentism. You just can't sit back and say, okay, I'm going to let the TV raise my child. You have to get actively involved, and if you don't agree with what the World Wrestling Federation does, turn me off. There's an off button.
Exactly.
Do that. But my argument was what you saw on WWF programming. I thought was not as risque as what you see at 8 o'clock on Thursday nights on Friends, or what you were seeing on a number of other, prime-time comedy shows, which were, quote-unquote, in the family hour.
Wrestling's always been a target for liberals. I mean, they can sit there and they can watch their Bleeding Heart liberal programs like Friends and things like that, and no matter what happens in there, they're going to be okay with it. But you get what they consider to be exploiting violence, and all of a sudden they start going in their chairs, and the same thing happens in wrestling. They're like, oh, but that's, it shows violence, and it's also teaching sex, and, come on, give me a break. We are a sports entertainment, we're the greatest form of sports entertainment in the world. There's nowhere in the entire world that you're going to find storylines, athletics, and controversy all rolled into one package, except in the WWF.
Last week was, of course, a very emotional time for everybody, and the World Wrestling Federation was the first major sport/entertainment organization to make a comeback and to make a stand. what did you think of them coming back on Thursday? Did you agree with it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think the show has to go on no matter what, and I think that goes for any form of entertainment. I think there's a good... the fans wanted it. The fans were there. The fans appreciated it. I think it took people's minds off of the tragedy that happened in New York and Washington, and I think it was a good break for the people. Absolutely.
They packed the place. I know Linda McMahon said, we didn't expect everybody to show up. The building was sold out, but we didn't think everybody was going to be there. And you have 13,000 people with their flags and their signs, and you have decorated war veterans sitting at ringside. I mean, it was a very powerful. And if you did not have chills when Lillian Garcia sang the national anthem and absolutely nailed it, Val, I know you're Canadian, but you had to have chills too when she did such a tremendous job.
And she always does that. She does a tremendous job every single time.
Let me ask you, because I know last week you were actually on your way to the airport when the event happened last Tuesday. As we heard earlier, you are a political genius. So give us your insight. I mean, what do you think about everything going on?
I think it was to be expected. I think it's been coming for a long time. I mean, the United States has actually become the police of the world, and they're kind of pushing their values in other countries, especially Arab countries. We went over and freed Kuwait from the hands of Iraq, and I think when you get involved in other countries' business, you're going to create resentment from some of those people. No matter what, to a lot of those people in the United States, it's not their business to be over there, and you're going to create resentment. No matter how good of a cause it was to go over there, you're going to create resentment on a lot of people. And the United States government was elected in order to protect the freedoms, the rights, the right to life, liberty, and property of Americans, not to go over and police other countries. When they start doing that, start creating resentment from other people in those countries. I mean, it's just a matter of time before those people say, okay, you know what, enough's enough. We don't want the United States over here telling us what we can and cannot do. You know what I mean? And so I think it's a long time coming, especially when Bill Clinton goes in from a few thousand miles away, lobs missiles over into Afghanistan to supposedly bomb out, Osama bin Laden. There's a lot of innocent people that were killed with those missiles. The families of those innocent people are now resenting the United States. You know what I mean? And I hear a lot of the media today saying, when those planes crashed into the World Trade Center, these were cowardly acts and all this. I mean, let's be realistic. That was nothing even close to being cowardly. Lobbing missiles from several thousand miles away, to me, that's kind of cowardly. But to actually climb into a plane, hijack it with box knives, and run yourself into brick walls and blow up, come on,
that's psychotic.
Exactly, it's psychotic.
It's psychotic,
that's not
cowardly.
It's definitely not. It's anything but cowardly. So I think it was something to be expected. It was a tragedy, and I think, it's going to escalate from now on. We're going to go get them. They're going to come back. And so I think what the United States has to do now is just go and bomb the living hell out of them. Get rid of all these terrorist organizations they possibly can, and then get out of their business and stay out of their business. Leave them to live their lives the way they want to.
The one thing you hear, and I'm not a political genius like you are, and I don't know if Cam is or not. Cam, are you a political? You are a political genius, okay. But you hear different numbers as far as how many supporters he has, and his actual group. It goes anywhere from 2,500 to 5,000. That's less than what was actually killed last Tuesday in the attacks. So if it's that few people, what is the problem? I mean, is it just, did we spend too much time worrying about internet terrorism and fighting that and not getting into the dirt and getting onto the streets and dealing with terrorism from a grunt level standpoint?
Well, let's rephrase that term terrorism. I mean, what is terrorism? I mean, when Bill Clinton lobbed missiles over there and he killed a lot of innocent people, that was called a strike. But to them, that was terrorism. They come over here, they run planes into the World Trade Center, they'll call it a strike.
Right.
We call it terrorism. So, I mean, terrorism, strike, whatever, we shouldn't have been over there in the first place, get involved in this. And that's been going on for years and years and years, and, the government should stay home and protect the rights and freedoms of Americans, not go over and start protecting the rights and freedoms of the rest of the world. And I think that's the main problem. I think the United States is overextending themselves military-wise. They're taking military people out of the States and placing them all over the world. I think that's overextension. I don't think we have enough protection here in America anymore.
866-910-WPFB. I promise we'll get back to actually wrestling talk, but I think with everything going on, everybody has an opinion about this, and I think that certainly what's going on in the world does, supersede whatever Vince McMahon or whoever does on Monday nights or on pay-per-views. But what was the reaction like in Canada? You were in Toronto. Were they as appalled as we were here in the United States? Was there a fear in Canada, like, The one thing I saw, and this is probably, almost a sick kind of humor, was when they said the flights coming into the United States were now being rerouted to Canada. I thought, well, great, if there's a bomb on one of those, we're going to send it into Canada and take them out, too.
Yeah, I think, Canadians very close to the Americans, and yeah, we were just as shocked. I mean, New York's just across the lake, right, Ontario, from my house. So it's definitely a shock. Canada was grounded. A lot of places closed. The airports all closed in Canada as well. And they flew American flags at the Parliament Hill, and it was definitely a big shock for Canadians as well. Absolutely.
Now, being a wrestler, with the fact that you're on the road all the time, you're flying all the time, do you now have more of a fear of flying, or do you feel the security will be there to protect you when you do have to make a flight?
Flying's never really bothered me. I just get on the plane and go to sleep. Whatever happens.
Yeah, just hope the pilot doesn't do that.
No, flying's never really bothered me. When I flew into Cincinnati here, it didn't bother me either. I was actually expecting, I was told to show up at the Toronto airport 4 hours beforehand. And I got there and there was nobody there. And the plane was pretty much empty. It was like 6 people on my flight. So I think, I don't know whether it's the same way in American airports right now. When I flew into Cincinnati airport seemed pretty dead, and it was during the middle of the day. It should have been pretty busy. So I think, now you're hearing that the airlines are going to lay off a bunch of people, and even the airline manufacturer, people like Boeing, laying off thousands of people. So I think it's definitely taking a hit on the industry. I think if that was Osama bin Laden's objective, was to cripple the economy, he's well on his way to doing it.
Well, you got Boeing's going to lay off 30,000. United now is looking at laying off 20 to 30,000. I know I've talked to a number of corporations during my day-to-day activities that they still have a ban on airline travel. That if you can't drive there, don't go. It's not worth it. So it's going to have a crippling effect, and you just hope. It's just a nightmare. You just wish you could wake up and it'd all be over. But I have to agree with you. I think it's going to go on for a little more longer than any of us really want it to.
I think it's going to go on for a long, long time. I mean, you got the U.S. government now talking about it's going to be a strategic strike because it's not a country that they're after. It's a network, and networks are they're placed, little groups placed all over the world pretty much. So I think it's going to be extremely difficult, and it may lead to even more resentment, which may lead to a strengthening on their side. And so I think you're definitely going to see a lot more problems in the future. That's my belief. And I've always said that after Clinton lobbed those missiles over in Afghanistan there during his tenure, I said something's going to happen. I've been saying that for a couple of years now, and I didn't expect this to happen. But
now, do you think that the fact was they suspected bin Laden of bombing American embassies? And that was supposedly the retaliation, but they never really came out with the information as far as investigation. Do you think that's why the resentment was there? I mean, obviously, if somebody's going to lob missiles on you, you're going to want to retaliate. But if it's in response to something, you should have expected it. But they never really came right out and said, we know who did it, here's the evidence we have. They didn't go to Pakistan and say, this guy did it, here's the evidence, let us use your airspace. So like you're saying, they had to do it from a distance, they didn't have anybody's approval. And the resentment came, just like you said. I mean, but do you think he should have expected that at that point?
You got 30 seconds because we got to get to a break. I don't mean to hold you back here. But
I don't think it was something to be expected in that sense. I think when he lobbed missiles over there, it might have been in response to the bombings of the U.S. embassies. But prior to the U.S. embassy bombings, America was basically policing their way of life. And I think that's where the main resentment came from, and it just built up from there.
And you'll hear that complaint from Americans as well. Take care of your own.
We're going to get an update with the news. 866-910-WPFB is the phone number. Val Venis is our guest. We are the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB.
To read after the fact, but I don't think there's really much anyone really wants to know. I mean, they've seen the pictures from the spring break. They've heard the various facts.
They saw the
mugshot. So
be interesting to see what his perspective is this Friday. Also, we're going to begin hearing once again from former WCW World Champion Bill Goldberg. He's got a website, goldbergbook.com, and he's going to start posting a weekly commentary. Now, next week's update is going to talk about the tragedy from New York and Washington, but also a no-holds-barred commentary on Vince Russo.
Now, that I want to see. That I would love to read, just to get his perspective and his... Goldberg's opinionated, and he won't hold back, so that'll be interesting.
Jerry the King Lawler and Grandmaster Sexay Brian Christopher, his son, were both backstage at SmackDown last night at the request of Jim Ross. Now, it's rumored and expected that Grandmaster Sexay could be making a return to the World Wrestling Federation as early as this weekend. His name was seen on the travel itinerary. We shall see. We had to get you out. We were talking about Bill Goldberg and Buff Bagwell, and I didn't want to get you in too much trouble, so.
Oh, that's okay.
Val Venis is in the studio. Let's take your phone calls at 866-910-WPFB. First, we'll go to line 1, Bud Rowe. Welcome to the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB.
What's going on, guys?
How are you?
I'm doing very well.
Good.
Anyway, I want to talk about the HWA show. In the past couple of weeks, I've watched it on Fox 45. It's really been a very good show, and I thought, the A Squad did good in their match on Saturday, and I thought the Island Boys looked very impressive and stuff like that.
Good.
I want to ask Val, how's your development coming from the HWA, and when you come back to the World Wrestling Federation, what can the fans expect from you? Are you going to be something different, do a complete 180, or what?
That's still up in the air right now. We've thrown a few ideas around. Definitely is going to be entertaining as hell. I'm not coming back with anything less than total entertainment on my mind, and that's my job. My job's there to entertain the fans to the best of my ability, and I will do just that.
There's one thing too that I'd like to point out and get your opinion on, and that's 10, 15 years ago, and especially if you've read Mick Foley's book, he talks about it. When guys got injured, they were just gone. If they had to take time off, their spot was gone. The show moved on without you. Now it's a little bit different. There's a little more consideration for the injuries. You have developmental places like HWA. You can come back in, shake off the ring rust, and get right back in the thick of things. How gradual was that change in coming? Is it a blessing among the workers? I mean, what do the wrestlers feel about that?
I think it was it was an individual thing. I would say what you just said is not true for everybody. I was fortunate enough to be able to wrestle in many different organizations around the world before coming to WWF. So anytime that I may have got injured, I could always go back to Puerto Rico. I could always go back to Mexico. I could always go back to Japan or England. Anytime I wanted. I had that to fall back on in order to lose my ring rust and get back into the swing of things. But now it's a good thing that we have the HWA aligned with the WWF because there are a lot of guys that don't have the international experience, don't have a lot of stuff to fall back on. So when they do get injured, they can always come down to HWA and use that ring rust when they're healthy again and get back in the swing of things.
Get back in there, yeah, and it helps too. I mean, you came into the WWF with a lot of the vignettes and things like that, and you're really hyped. And I imagine, I can't imagine how much pressure that puts on you to perform. But when you came out, it was like you had the charisma, the moves, everything, and you were almost instantly over. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. And I guess when you say get injured, how much 2 years after the fact, 3 years after the fact, does that still play? And they say, no, you're coming back here. You're hurt, take your time off, but you're coming right back. How much of a factor is what you did, that long ago, really?
I think that all depends on the fans.
I guess how fast does it change, I guess I should ask.
I think it all depends on the fans, how they feel about a certain character. I think bringing the Val Venis character back to the WWF, I think it'll be over just as much, if not more, than when I first came to the WWF. I think now I'm more determined than ever before, and I'm not going to let an injury stop me from climbing back on top of the world again.
Now, you brought up the Mick Foley book, and I got to ask you something, because when Mick wrote about this, I cannot believe you've let this go by. Most people know the story that about 2 or 3 years ago, when the whole storyline was happening between Al Snow and Pepper, that one of the great ribs of all time was played on you when Al Snow had the Pepper poster, showed it on Heat, showed it on Raw, and the phone number he had for people to call with information about Pepper actually turned out to be your cell phone.
Yes, it was.
Now, Mick wrote in the book that you have yet to pay Al back. I can't believe you would let something like that go. Something like that, you've got to get the guy back.
Oh, trust me, I will get him back. But you see, I just didn't want to jump right back at him because he's expecting something to come back. I wait like another 6 or 7 months, maybe 8 months. He's not expecting anything now. He thinks I've forgotten about it. I haven't forgotten about anything. I just don't talk about it.
How many calls did you get? Because I heard something around like 200 or 300.
I was sitting in the change room, and I was getting changed, and I'd always look up at the monitor and see what was going on, and look back down, get changed again, and I saw him hold a poster up, but I didn't look at it.
Right.
And all of a sudden, my phone's in my workout bag, and all of a sudden it starts ringing. So I'm answering, hello, and they're like, hey, I got Pepper. I'm like, what? I didn't clue in at first. So, anyway, it kept ringing and ringing around, going, what the hell? And then all of a sudden, all the boys in the change room started laughing. And then I clued in, I'm going, oh, that little bastard. So, there was Prince, Test, and and myself that were riding, and my phone was just ringing off the hook. I didn't really want to turn it off because I was trying to think of get a little fun out of this.
Right.
I had pretty good here, so I wanted to turn around and make a little bit of fun out of it. So anyway, I started answering the phone, saying, Al Snow's dog retrieval line. You're the 11th caller, and you just won yourself $10,000. And people on the phone would start freaking out because they actually thought it was. They're going, really? That's all I have to do is call this number? I was wondering what that number was on there for. So, we would set them all up for a place to meet and all this, and of course, they'd probably go there.
and of course, you told them Al would pay them the bill.
Sure.
So, Al was going to pay off the bill.
I actually told them they would be presented $10,000 by Al Snow on Raw. And,
now they're pending fraud charges and 48 years against Al Snow, and he doesn't even know it yet.
That's the payback. Al doesn't know it yet. It's 48 warrant shot for his arrest.
He'll be paying for it the rest of his life.
What do you think about the job, Al, for the most part, of on Heat and with the Tough Enough show? We got Tough Enough. The finale is going to be next week. What do you think about them having this show where a Survivor type or reality type show where the winner is going to be given a wrestling contract, something that guys like yourself worked for years and years for, and yet here's a chance that somebody can win one? I mean, do you have any problem with that, or do you see what they're doing and you go, okay, they're earning it?
Well, we're in the business of entertainment. Right. Al Snow did a fantastic job training these guys, and Wayne. He did a phenomenal job. He's a great teacher. And when they get their WWF contracts, chances are they're not going straight to WWF. They'll probably come down here to the HWA and continue their trade. And I think that's a great thing. We're in the business of entertainment, and right now it's the number one rated show on MTV. And I think it's phenomenal. It really is. I mean, those guys really busted their butt, and I think they realized that wrestling and even learning the trade is not everything it's cut up to be. I mean, it's tough. It's really tough. I mean, when I was training with Dewey Robertson, we'd get big bodybuilder guys and football players coming in, I can do this, and they come in, the last 3 days they're gone. Right. And then you get another guy that's like 135 pounds soaking wet, comes in and he sticks it out, and he stays, and he's probably never make it big, but he's making decent money, going to Japan and things like that, and Mexico, and it's definitely a fantastic show. It's proven itself for sure.
Now they're going to give the winners live next week, so the winners have not been announced yet. I assume you've watched some of the episodes. Any idea who would you pick to get the contract? You had to go out on a limb.
I couldn't even begin to guess. I couldn't. What's that one?
It's very tight. I mean, they're all very close. Nydia and Taylor, the girls. Then you have Josh, Maven, and Chris, the guy from Harvard.
I think Nydia's definitely
really
for it. Yeah, I would. And Taylor, she's a hard worker too, but Nydia's got the look. She's got the skill and the talent behind her. So I think I definitely pick her. But it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough one to pick a winner out of that one.
A couple minutes ago, we were talking about, the rib that Al played on you. I got to think that's probably the one thing you miss the most when you have the injury, you're not on the road, is the camaraderie around the guys, because it's such a great atmosphere. When you have a good locker room, you have the friendships, and you have the joking around all the time, and just the bonding you share by being in that kind of environment. That's probably what you would miss the most, I would think.
Actually, I miss the wrestling the most and entertaining the people. That's the number one thing. But in WWF, the camaraderie was there, and it made going to work fantastic. I mean, even people like Bradshaw. Bradshaw is a phenomenal ribber. He was always joking around. He'd always, he definitely did not make things boring.
You've got to get stock tips from, too.
Absolutely. he knows finances very, very well. Him and I argue a lot about politics, and, He's definitely a libertarian. He just won't admit it because he knows it gets under my skin when he starts talking all this liberal crap.
Val Venis is our guest. A little bit later on, Lance Cade, one of the WWF developmental talents who's in the Heartland Wrestling Association, where Val Venis is going to be for the next couple of weeks. He's going to join us, too. And if you want to call in tonight, again, 866-910-WPFB. We're going to take a break. We'll be back on The Wrestling Guys, AM 910, WPFB.
You're listening to The Wrestling Guys on the station that's a part of your life, AM 910 WPFB.
Back here on The Wrestling Guys, Val Venis in studio, Cam the Man Collins joining us also tonight. Val, again, want to thank you for stopping in tonight. It's been a great time and great debate, and love it.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Let's go quick to the phones. Casey's on the line. Casey has a question for Val. Can we lose Casey? I think we lost Casey. Hopefully we'll get him back in a little bit. We also have another guy on the line, and he is one of the top guys in the Heartland Wrestling Association, and I'm sure Val's going to be hooking up with him before the next couple of weeks is over. His name is Lance Cade. Lance joins us on the Wrestling Guys. Lance, welcome.
Hi, nice to be here.
Thank you very much. And let me ask you, a couple of weeks ago, you got a pretty nice compliment from Jim Ross, who if you're going to get a compliment from anybody in the WWF film, that's a pretty good one to get, when he said in his column that you're about a year away from making it to the World Wrestling Federation. Had to give you some goosebumps?
Yeah, whenever someone like that says something about you, it makes you feel good, and it makes you really want to get in there and work that much harder, So I was really excited to read that, but in the next year, I have a lot more to learn.
What's it been like with HWA? Because, well, let's tell you what, let's go back first and talk about how you got broken in, because you started training with Shawn Michaels, correct?
Yes, I went down to, I was actually in Shawn's first full-time class. In his class for about 3 months, and then I was put on his TV show, and then got signed by the World Wrestling Federation about 4 months after that, and after a year in Memphis, made my way up here to Cincinnati.
So what's been like in Cincinnati? What's it like in the HWA?
Oh, it's great. Les Thatcher, the way he runs training is much more beneficial than, it's like going through wrestling school all over again, and when you in the position I am, where you need to constantly be learning new things from all the different guys, it's a great thing, to be able to train 4 days a week with guys like this, because, I've been really lucky ever since, it's almost been like a whole 2-year wrestling school for me, because first I got to learn from Shawn, then I got to learn from William Regal and Tracy Smothers and Bobby Eaton, and guys like Dean Malenko and Val and, Dave Taylor. They all make their way into the training. Al Snow also.
There he is kissing your butt, Val. Trying to make you go easy. He's trying to get you to go easy on him.
Hey, Lance, I'm going to teach you another thing right now, okay?
Okay.
Don't ever say that you're lucky, because luck is for losers, okay? Just remember that. If you rely on luck, you'll lose it. You're not lucky. You're getting there through hard work. That has nothing to do with luck. What you're doing in Les Thatcher School has nothing to do with luck. You're working your ass off.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with luck. Okay, luck is for losers. Always remember that. Never say you're lucky.
Luck will be having your videotape picked by Tough Enough.
There you go.
What you do after that goes beyond luck, but to have it picked and brought in, now that could be considered luck.
Yes, that could be considered luck, yes. But as far as what Lance is doing, he's working very hard. He's learning very fast. He's doing a great job there, and that has nothing to do with luck.
Not at all.
That is hard work, determination. He has a desire to do it. He has the strength to do it, a challenge. He has the attitude to become a WWF superstar, and he has a commitment to achieve it. And Lance, you will be there. Believe me, you will be there.
Well, thank you.
Just keep doing what you're doing and never say you're lucky.
Lance, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Maybe I'm fortunate, sir.
Not fortunate implies luck. Don't even say that.
Lance, just stop right now. Stop right now. You're going to be doing more 6-on-6s tomorrow than you've ever had in your life if you keep this up.
Yeah.
The one guy you're always compared to is Barry Windham. For those of you that haven't seen Lance, he's 6'5", 6'6", long blonde hair, wrestles a lot like Barry Windham. Did you grow up admiring Barry Windham? How did that come about?
No, to be honest, Barry Windham I never ever watched him when I was a kid growing up. I saw him once in a while whenever I've always been a WWF fan my entire life, and, I rarely saw him, and when it was on WCW Saturday night, and it was just one of those things when I was in Shawn's school, when we started to learn actually how to do a complete match and everything, and how everything makes sense and falls into place, he kept telling all the guys, so-and-so, whoever he had, certain guys that were in the school, they looked like, they wrestled like some of the cruiserweights that are out there, and he said, watch them, get some ideas from them and everything. But I was the only guy in the whole school that he couldn't find anything, to a guy that I should watch, because a lot of the guys now, it's changed so much from the way it was when Shawn wrestled. And one day he came in there and he said, he just had, his eyes were as big as can be. He said, I finally figured out who you need to watch, and it's Barry Windham. And then I got some tapes of him, and ever since then I started watching him, and then everyone since then compared me to him. So it's a compliment. I take it as a very good compliment, because he was a great wrestler in his day.
Yeah, definitely. Barry Windham was actually one of my favorites growing up in the battles that he had with Ric Flair. Kept me glued to the TV. Read about him in all the magazines. So when I actually saw you, Lance, that's like Shawn said. The first thing you think about is, my God, it's Barry Windham.
Yeah, Barry Windham Jr. or something like that. Now, you agree? I mean, you've seen Lance.
Oh, absolutely.
It's scary almost when you first see him.
Yeah, he definitely reminds me of a very young Barry Windham, absolutely.
Lance, obviously, since you've spent some time in the HWA, you guys are now on television here in the Middletown, Dayton, Cincinnati area. It's every Saturday night, Fox 45. You've had some experience in television down in Memphis. The one thing I know the World Wrestling Federation is looking for more than anything else right now is that personality, that charisma. Have you felt yourself, now that you're on television, working on that more? Do you feel like the wrestling's down and the charisma is really what you need to work on, the personality?
Yeah, that's what my problem is, when Shawn, he said he looked like Barry Windham or whatever, he was set in stone when I was on his TV down there. I want you to be a cowboy. That's what I want. I want the boots, the trunks that I wear, the vest, the hat, everything. And when I went to Memphis, they got me away from that. They just wanted me to be a wrestler. But that's why Memphis, working 4 nights a week there, that's why I really learned. That's why I started to learn how to, my charisma, my firing up as a babyface, and all that stuff. And right now, I'm still kind of, I don't know exactly where to get this from, but without a character for me right now, because right now I'm just the Lance Cade, the wrestler. I'm just being myself out there, and trying to turn up the volume by about 10 notches by adding the fire and everything. But it's right now it's hard for me to get a personality when I really don't have a character. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Sure.
Yeah, but whenever I get a chance and I get to sit down with some writers and they give me an idea to whatever thing, I think then things will fall into place for me, and I think that from there I can go. When they have an idea for me and we want you to be this, then I can really totally get into that character. Because right now I'm just out there completely being myself. That's all I'm doing.
Hey, Lance?
Yes.
What you're doing right now, being yourself and constantly wrestling as yourself, and if you can build enough fire and enough charisma, just being yourself, and learn how to harness that charisma and really exploit it, then by the time you get to the WWF and the writers give you a character, you'll have the tools necessary in order to exploit the character they give you. So definitely learn how to build yourself up as yourself. I did that for years in Puerto Rico. I worked as a Canadian glamour boy, Shawn Morley, which is my real name. And, I spent 6 years down there just developing the character Shawn Morley. When I went to Mexico, they threw a mask on me, steel. I already knew how to exploit myself. And when you know how to exploit yourself, you can exploit any character that's put on you. I exploited the gimmick Steel in Mexico. And when I came to WWF, I exploited the character Val Venis. And it's definitely a skill that's to be learning. You're learning that right now. So it's very good that what you're doing, learning to do is exploit yourself. But keep on doing what you're doing. Keep on learning how to build that charisma, harness it, and really light it up.
Yeah, because that's what, everyone from WWF that's ever came down, they said that all the, the guys right now, the gimmick thing, there's no more gimmicks anymore. It's just them turned up, 10 or 20 notches.
Exactly. A character that is offered to you, you have to feel comfortable with. If you don't feel comfortable with it, it's never going to work. And if you don't feel comfortable with it, you're not going to be able to harness the charisma of that character and exploit it. So definitely, you have to feel, comfortable with any character they decide to give you.
Hey, Lance, I hate to cut you off here, but we're running out of time, so I want to thank you for joining us, and we'll do this again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Lance Cade from the Heartland Wrestling Association. Real quick, I think we got Casey now finally patched through. Casey has a question for Val Venis. You're on the Wrestling Guys.
Yeah, how you guys doing?
Good. Casey, you got to make it quick.
Okay, Val, I was wanting to know if you had one guy to bring back with you to the WWF, who would it be?
If I had one guy to bring back with me, it would probably be my old partner in Puerto Rico, Shane Sewell. I'd definitely bring him up to WWF with me.
Good answer. Now, this Tuesday, SmackDown is in Dayton. Tickets are still available. You can get them at Ticketmaster.com. And then Wednesday night, the day after, down at Jillian's, just across the river in Covington, Val Venis is going to be on the show with the Heartland Wrestling Association. And anywhere the HWA is over the next couple of weeks, you're going to be right there, right?
Absolutely. And I will not enter into that ring in anything less in my mind than absolute victory.
There you go. As far as a timetable for you to come back to Raw, SmackDown, to the WWF, what do you have in your mind?
You look at 3-4 weeks.
Great. Well,
that's quicker than I thought.
Oh, yeah. I think it'll take 3 or 4 weeks to get rid of my ring rust. So that's why I'm shooting that anyway.
Well, Val, I appreciate having you in the studio tonight. Some great debate, some great conversation, not just the wrestling talk, and I think that's important in these times. And I want to thank you very much, and hopefully we can do this again some more down the road.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. And again, I want to remind you, if you need the latest wrestling news, you can call the Wrestling Guys hotline 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The phone number is 937-285-0991. Cam, I want to thank you for coming in here this week as well.
Thank
nice
you for
job.
having me. Thank you.
Nice job. Willie F will be back in a couple of weeks. I'll see you again next Wednesday here on the Wrestling Guys. Don't forget, you have Ohio State football this weekend and high school football here Friday night on the station that's a part of your life, AM 910 WPFB. Until next week, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Making their way into the studio, the tag team champions of Talk Radio, Shawn Stidham and Willie F, the Wrestling Guys.
This is Frank Farmer Loomis, your antiques expert, with the antique of the day.
Hello, neighbors and friends. This is Brother James D. McDonald with a Searching the Scriptures radio broadcast, heard at 8:30 a.m. each Sunday morning on
the station that's a part of your life, AM 910 WPFB.
This is Frank Farmer Loomis, your antiques expert, with
To the Wrestling Guys on the station that's a part of your life, AM 910 WPFB.
If you've been around for the last half hour, we apologize tremendously. Technical difficulties here in the studio. That's what happens when you're here, Cam Collins.
We just wanted to kick a little old school. That's what we wanted to do for the first half hour. We thought, little trip down memory lane, there we go.
Our toll-free number, 866-910-WPFB. The email address, thewrestlingguys@AOL.com. If you want to hop on board tonight, a little bit later on, Big John from Tough Enough, the guy who's in charge of this rowdy bunch, he's going to check in with us in about 5 minutes or so. First of all, let's get you up to speed on the news. In case you're just joining us, Willie F. has the week off. Cam the Man Collins in studio tonight. Thanks for filling in, Cam. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Greatly. World Wrestling Federation has decided that with everything going on in the world, the title Raw is War, probably not a good idea. So they are going to change that to just simply Raw. The first hour is Raw 1, second hour is Raw 2. No War Zone, no Raw is War, nothing. Just quite simply Monday Night Raw. Also, they have changed the name for the December pay-per-view from Armageddon to now Payback, which I think right now in this climate we have both of those probably pretty good ideas as far as sensitivity is concerned.
Absolutely.
Randy Macho Man Savage, Tom Edwards' favorite wrestler, could be making a comeback. Jacques Rougeau, who operates a promotion out of Canada, is trying to lure the Macho Man out of his retirement. He's never really officially retired. Nobody will pay him enough to wrestle.
Exactly. You pay him enough and he'll wrestle anyway.
Exactly, but he's going to try and bring him back to for a show at the Molson Center.
Randy Macho Man Savage, Downers Grove High School.
Thank you, Tom. That was Tom Edwards. Tom's going back to happy hour now. Thank you very much. Yes. By the way, Randy Savage will be appearing on the WB's Nikki this Sunday, if you are so inclined.
Actually, Shawn, that was Leaping Lanny Poffo. I think it's the Savage's only fan left.
I think so, too. Raw is War this past Monday night drew a 4.5 rating, their lowest rating since this past June, so not a good situation there as far as ratings going down for the World Wrestling Federation. In case you have not heard, Chronic is out of the World Wrestling Federation. This was good. Chronic, after having an exemplary match this Sunday, that's sarcasm, was told by WWF management, now look, we like you guys, but we want you to kind of learn our style a little more. You've been in WCW, not as many rest holds, we work a faster style here, so we want you to go down to either the Heartland Wrestling Association or to Ohio Valley Wrestling, kind of, get the ring rust off, right? Well, those guys, Brian Adams, Brian Clark said, what, us? No, if you want us to go down there, we quit.
All right, see.
Okay, see ya. Bye-bye. Don't let the door hit you.
Didn't they learn anything from Lawler?
Yeah, the funny thing is, I don't see why that was considered such an insult. You look at the guys who have went to OVW, who have went to the HWA for, to get the rust up, for rehab assignments. Val Venis, Mark Henry, The Big Show, the Acolytes, the APA, Scotty Too Hottie, Lita, the list is on and on and on.
You could simplify it by saying guys who were much more over than Chronic has ever been.
And the other thing, too, is that Chronic, I'm sorry, you are not going to make more money on the independent circuit than you are by collecting a paycheck from the World Wrestling Federation, and there is no pay cut when you go to HWA or OVW. Right. You are considered to be in the Developmental Association, you're getting a try, you're working out your problems, whatever. There's nothing wrong with that.
And you could be managed by Brock Guffman. Who wouldn't want that?
Well, if that's the case, I can see maybe why they left. So, yeah. Anyway, so that kind of gives you up to date what's going on in the wrestling world news-wise. SmackDown was, of course, last night in Dayton. If you did not go to it, pretty good crowd, almost a sellout, not quite a sellout, but almost there, nearly. In case you missed it, the matches you will see tomorrow. The Undertaker and Kane will take on Booker T and Test with the WCW Tag Team titles on the line. Kanyon and Rhino team up to battle the Hardy Boys. Big Show takes on X-Pac. Rob Van Dam battles Chris Jericho with the Hardcore belt on the line. Ladies contest with Molly Holly battling Ivory. WWF Intercontinental title match, Christian battles Bradshaw. And it's the Dudley Boys versus The Rock and Kurt Angle, your main event. And if you want the complete results of SmackDown, we will have those for you tomorrow on the Wrestling Guys hotline at 937-285-0991.
And if you did not go to the show last night, really was top to bottom pretty solid. And if you had 4 hours to kill, of course, then you were pretty well entertained. So I actually thought they did a really good job, and I do hope they bring it back to Dayton very soon, because I think the crowd turned out really well. And any time a crowd pops for Billy Gunn like they did last night, you damn well better bring your wrestling back at some point, because we just did him a big favor.
Well, the one thing that we've been told kind of, off the record is that, because you now have two developmental associations so close with HWA and OVW, that Cincinnati and Dayton will both be receiving many more shows, and along with those Raw, SmackDown, and, of course, pay-per-views.
Which is great news for guys who are working the HWA or the indie circuit, because last night they had two dark matches that featured HWA talent, and I have to tell you, very solid matches. I was thoroughly impressed. The Island Boys got big pops. Steve Bradley got big pops. And a couple of great matches out of the HWA guys last night.
When we come back, your phone calls, and we're going to talk to Big John from Tough Enough. We are the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB.
That's the part of your life, AM 910 WPFB.
Welcome back to the Wrestling Guys, AM 910 WPFB. It's one of those nights you just have to laugh if you're not going to cry. If you don't cry, you're going to cry if you don't laugh. So I'm Shawn Stidham. Willie F. has had the week off. Cameron the Man Collins is in. If you're on your way down to Jillian's tonight, thank you for joining us. HWA running a show down there just across the river in Covington, Kentucky. Val Venis is on the show, and Val Venis, I think, is going to be there for the rest of the week with the HWA. They have a show this weekend at the Red Barn in Batavia. Then you have the television tapings over in Indiana. So if you want to check out Val Venis and the HWA, you can do so this week. And also want to thank Val Venis again for filling in last week with us here on the Wrestling Guys hotline. A little bit on the Wrestling Guys radio show. They're kind of one in the same.
We just do hotlines over the radio.
And everybody else has hotlines. We may as well just do one on the radio. So anyway, 866-910-WPFB. Big John from Tough Enough. The season finale of that show will be on tomorrow. He's going to join us here momentarily. Let's take the phone call, 866-910-WPFB. And I believe we have Bud Rowe. Welcome to the Wrestling Guys.
Bud Rowe here's you loud and clear, Shawn. And what's up, Cam?
Hey, how's it going, Bud Rowe?
Oh, not too bad. I want to talk about Unforgiven. I thought it was a pretty solid pay-per-view. A lot of ups and downs, but mostly pretty solid. I give it like an 8 out of 10. Second of all, I did happen to read Kurt Angle's book on Sunday while I was shopping. I can honestly say it's a very, very good book, even though it's not as long as Foley's book. It is very descriptive and very, very good to read. So I urge everyone to go buy it.
All right, thanks a lot, Bud Rowe. We appreciate the phone call. Joining us now live on the Wrestling Guys at AM 910 WPFB. He is kind of the Papa Bear of Tough Enough, if you want to call him that. Big John, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Papa Bear, though.
But that's what somebody compared you to. They said, my wife and I were watching the show, and she said, you know what? He reminds me of a male Edna, or whatever her name was, from Facts of Life. You're kind of in charge of all of them.
That's an interesting way to look at it, but yeah, I guess so.
So tomorrow night, the season finale of Tough Enough on MTV at 10 o'clock. And, I got to ask you, going into this, and I know you said it on last week's show, you didn't think it was going to be this hard to choose the winners. Out of the 5 we have left, did you think it was going to be those 5, or has anybody really shocked you that they held out?
Well, going into this, we had those 13 people that we selected for the show. I think that a lot of people looking at it on the surface would think that Jason, who was, chiseled like granite and, really wanted this and looked like the kind of person that could be a WWF superstar, would probably be the favorite. But, it just didn't turn out that way. So, yeah, a lot of things surprised me about who we're left with.
The one thing I think, I think it was week 3 or week 4, early on, I thought Victoria, out of all the females, really was going to be the one to stick it out. She had the background as a stunt woman, and I thought she would be able to overcome, the fear of taking the bumps. Do you think that had it not been a case where both her and Bobby Joe were together and they were both kind of playing off of one another, well, I don't want to do this, well, I don't want to do this, do you think that one or both of them would have stayed had it not been, and then they not been together at that time in that mood?
Well, I think that's a good way of looking at it. I know that there was no way that Bobby Joe was going to stay. Victoria surprised me. I mean, that shows you how tough this business is. I mean, here she is, a stunt woman who's been involved in a lot of different variety of stunts and, going through broken glass and fires, and yet she couldn't make 2 weeks of learning how to be a professional wrestler. So, did it have anything have to do with them being together? Probably. But in the end, she wasn't going to make it. She didn't have the makeup to come this far.
We're talking to Big John from Tough Enough on the Wrestling Guys, AM 910 WPFB.
John, I have a question now. When I just caught the first episode again over the weekend, and you see these guys in their tryouts, so to speak, and then, the show last week, they're learning to do moonsaults. We catch a half hour of this a week. You see the whole thing. How shocked are you that now they're doing moonsaults when before they could barely run across the ring and run the ropes properly?
Well, it's amazing. All these kids had no experience except for Chris, who had 2 weeks experience at Killer Kowalski's school. And, in the beginning...
Okay, I think John breaking up a little bit, going through a bad spell there. John, are you with us? Oh. Trying to hold off here. John, are you there? Okay, I think we've lost John. Hopefully we'll try and hook him back up here in a second. But the season finale of Tough Enough is tomorrow night on MTV. The first half hour has already been taped, and it's the conclusion of their training and everything else they've been doing. The second half hour will be live from Times Square, WWF New York, right. And that is when the decision will be announced as far as who they have chosen to be WWF superstars. Both one male and one female will be given WWF contracts. Out of the 5, you have Maven, Chris, and Josh on the male side. On the female side, you're left with Taylor and Nydia. Going into it, I think out of the 5, Maven I think's a lock. I don't see any way that Maven doesn't win this thing.
Right. He's what they're describing as, no disrespect to Lex Luger, the total package, so to speak. And that he's got the charisma, he's got the ability, he's got the look. And he's just got that X factor, as Al Snow called it last week.
And I also think that Maven has become the fan favorite, if you will, with, we saw the story a few weeks back with his mom.
Right.
And I think that, Maven, like you said, he has a charisma, that's a plus in his favor. I just think that right now, I think he's a lock. I don't see any way that he doesn't get it. On the female side, I think that early on, I thought Taylor would have out of it when we got down to the 2. I thought Taylor was the one. I think she has a better look than Nydia.
Right.
But I tell you, Nydia has really come on. And when you've seen her, especially a couple of weeks ago when she was on WWF Excess, you can tell Nydia's been in the gym. She's really lost a lot of weight. She's toned up. And I think that her personality may be a little bit better. The way she's a little more outgoing, I think, than Taylor is.
Right.
And, that may play into it as well. Wrestling is not just about what you can do between the ropes. That's 60-70% of it, but in today's wrestling world, charisma is just as important, if not more so, than what you can do in the ring.
Well, personally, I think Maven's turning point was the promos. When they got him in the promo room, he was the only one that really nailed it. Everyone else just, you could tell they were just out of their element completely, and he stepped in and just, boom, took off. And that's a huge part of it, but also, referring to Nydia, she has shown a ton of improvement, which means she is coachable and she is trainable, and that has to play in her favor, somewhat.
Still waiting to see if we get Big John back in here. He's traveling across, getting ready for the season finale of Tough Enough tomorrow night. If you have an opinion about who you think will win at Tough Enough, you can give us a call at 866-910-WPFB. And let me tell you what, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break, try and hook back up with Big John, and we'll be back here on the Wrestling Guys, AM 910, WPFB.
Wear your kilt and be Scottish.
Cam the Man Collins sitting in for Willie F for another week, and we're all the Wrestling Guys, AM 910, WPFB. Let's go to the phone lines, talk to Andy. Welcome to the Wrestling Guys.
Hey, how you guys doing?
After that first half hour, I don't know yet, but what's up, man?
I was just wondering, on Tough Enough, you know how they taped that quite a while ago, right?
Yes.
All the people who are left, were they being trained from the time the taping ended to now, or how did that work?
I don't know exactly what their schedule has been as far as how much training they've been getting, but yes, there has been some type of training, not the same kind they were going through, every day, living together and all that, but the idea is that whoever the winners are, they will be sent down to the developmental associations. I believe the female, whether it be Taylor or Nydia, will go to Ohio Valley Wrestling, which is the area that most of the females go to, and whoever the male is will end up going to Les Thatcher down to the HWA.
Okay, thanks, guys.
No problem, Andy.
I honestly hope that the people who are left, the ones who are not selected, by now they have to know that they want to do this. And I hope that they do continue, whether it be signing up at a school, anyone's school, continuing it, working the indie circuit and trying to work through it. I think they've earned the right to pursue it at this point.
Well, that's one of the questions actually I had for John, and hopefully we'll be able to hook back up with him. We're trying to get him through on the cell phone, and he's out of the area. So, from what I understand, there is going to be some kind of offer made to those that don't win. I don't know if it's going to be to everybody that was at WWF New York when they first started this thing, or if it's just going to be to the ones who lost. But there is going to be some type of offer for them to continue training. I don't know if that's going to be out of their own pocket or how they're going to work that. But I think that's a great thing. I think that, again, nobody thought that it was going to be this tough.
No.
When you first watched the show and you said, okay, Jason, Maven, Greg.
He was my favorite.
Those guys all look like wrestlers. They have great builds, great physiques. And you go, all right, it's going to be one of those three. And then all of a sudden you start seeing guys drop out and people got hurt. And now you're left with Maven, Chris, and Josh. And Josh, I think, is a surprise because Josh has shown he has a true heart for the business. He doesn't have the size, but he has the passion. And you watch him, and last week was a great example. He was able to overcome his fear and hit that moonsault. Right. And that was a huge step, a huge hurdle for him to overcome. And so you don't know. And the other thing too, you got to remember going into this, MTV also is involved with this. So they're not just looking at it from a wrestling standpoint; they're looking at it from a storyline standpoint.
They want the big stories. That's why they follow Maven to his mother's hospital room and talk to his mother. They want that human story.
Exactly.
Whereas the WWF gets their product out even more so than it is.
And for the little guy to win would be a great story. I think. The thing is with Josh, Chris, and Maven, even though I think that Maven is the favorite, and I think he's done the most to win it, you could also make an argument for Chris. You could also make an argument for Josh. It's going to be an incredibly tough decision tomorrow night. And the same on the ladies' side with Taylor and with Nydia. I think both of those ladies have done an incredible amount of work to try and earn that contract. And I think Big John's back. John, do we have you back?
You got me back. Sorry about that, guys.
That's all right. That's okay, man. We were just talking about, we actually had a call while you were off the air, about what is the plan now for the ones that don't win the contract. Is there going to be any offer made for them to continue training in some way, or is it kind of, you lost, it was a contest, we're sorry?
I think that's a good question. Originally, there was going to be one male and one female, and they were the only ones that are going to get contracts, and that's where we stand right now. Although I honestly believe, and in talking to a lot of our talent people, they believe the same thing, that all 5 of these people have a future in this business.
That's what we were just talking about, is that, when you first looked at the show, when it started however many weeks ago, you looked at Greg, you looked at Jason, you looked at Maven, you said, okay, those guys all have the look. But then you look at what Josh has done, and Josh has shown that he has the true passion. You saw last week he was able to overcome his fear and finally hit that moonsault. And I think that you can make an argument, like you said, for any of them. And with Taylor and Nydia, that's got to be the one that just, is really eating at you guys as far as who the choice will be.
Well, it is, it's a real tough decision. With Josh and with Maven and with Chris, it really came down, when we made the decision, came down to who do we think has all the ingredients to be a WWF superstar. And it was a very difficult decision to make, and you're going to find out tomorrow. And with the girls, it was just as difficult. But, in talking to JR and talking to, our talent people, we all believe that these five, considering what they went through with Tough Enough, they have what it takes to be something in this business.
We're talking with Big John from Tough Enough, which the season premiere or season finale is tomorrow night on MTV. What are the plans now? I know we've seen the advertising for Tough Enough 2. What's the timetable as far as when we can expect to see that on MTV?
Well, I can actually give you guys a little bit of a scoop. Tough Enough 2 is going to be, the auditions are going from now until October 5. We are accepting tapes. And the auditions themselves will be held in Las Vegas.
Wow.
So we're still negotiating with hotel and logistics of it, but we've committed to have it in Las Vegas. It'll be 3 days towards the end of October. It'll be somewhat the same, type of thing that we did the first one, what with some added little physical challenges for the people and things of that nature. But it will be in Las Vegas. The show itself will begin shooting the first week in November at a yet-to-be-determined site, and Tough Enough 2 will be on the air most likely in the first week of March.
John, we've heard some of the most common comments we've heard in regards to this competition, and we'll probably hear it again, is that you have guys who worked up through the Indies for years and years and years, and they finally nail a contract, and like Taz said on the first one, now they're winning a contract.